Representing the sponsor, Shane's best mate in New Zealand, Lance O'Sullivan from Wexford. Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Dye. Congratulations, Shane. Great to have you here in New Zealand to take this award. Australian inductee and now a New Zealand inductee. It is basically the icing on the cake for a wonderful career.
Yeah, it's lovely, you know, to be inducted into 2 countries. It's fantastic and it's an honour.
Yourself, Shane, when you were starting out, I mean, we saw on the clip there that you were born to be a jockey because of your grandfather and your father. And Matamata was where you were. And Matamata is such the hub of racing, so many wonderful stables here. Now, you decided to go to Wexford Stables, to Dave O'Sullivan, and then you had your best mate who was always going to be a competitor. That didn't worry you at all, did it?
Well, the thing with Lance and I is we're opposites in what we like. Like, he's a farm person. I couldn't think of anything worse. And gambling, I do, he doesn't, all that, you know. But we're very much similar, and there's never been any jealousy. And I was actually Mr. O'Sullivan's, we were discussing it tonight, last apprentice, and he actually never wanted me to be a jockey. He sat me down one day on a couch and said, no, you're not going to be a jockey, you're going to be a great trainer one day. Your go is training horses. And I said, I will never train, I don't want to. I want to be a jockey. And through hassling him for ages, he signed me up, and I was actually his last apprentice because Lance was always going to be his last apprentice. So he got that one wrong.
But in saying that, though, you've always had so much time and so much love for Dave O'Sullivan.
Oh, definitely. He had the name, and he always had good apprentices. And I knew that Lance was going to be his #1 jockey, but the name and being associated with him was the thing that I wanted. And he gave that to me. And, of course, he gave me an opportunity, and as soon as I could take it, I grabbed it and rode winners. But Lance was always going to be his #1, and that's the way it was, and I accepted it, and it didn't bother me.
You always wanted to look for something to happen in your life, and when you were young as an apprentice, you decided to go to Sydney. Was there anybody there or something inspire you to go to Sydney?
Well, I look around and I see a lot of people that help me through your life. I may have had the ability, the determination and dedication, but you still need people to help you along the way. Lance helped me because when I first started, he was leading apprentice, people would ring him for rides, and he'd say, well, I've got a ride, put Shane on. So I actually used him. He got me a lot of my rides without him realising it, so I could be better. And then, of course, I had Mr. O'Sullivan help me. I look around the room, and Graham Rogerson, I used to drive him and Denise Mad, and he had apprentices like, I think, Shane Simon and Peter Timms at that stage, and he always put me on, you know. But Laurie Laxon, I see him, he used to pick me up in the horse float and take me to Gisborne and pick me up at Mr. O'Sullivan's stables, and then we'd drive to Gisborne. I would never be in the front, it would be out the back with the horses and the rugs to keep me warm, and I'd ride for him there, and I'd come home riding 3 or 4 winners, and it was like Christmas. And he gave me a start in Australia through Mr. Peter Vella and Mr. Robert Sangster. They had a horse called La Griguiere, and they had a package put together, and I think Peter and Robert brought about 4 or 5 horses from Ireland and England and brought them here. And I actually rode La Griguiere, and she won about 4 or 5 here, and they took me to Australia when I was 17 to ride her in the Caulfield Cup. She was favourite. And unfortunately, she started in the Herbert Power favourite the week before, and the track was too hard, and she didn't go on to the Caulfield Cup. But at that stage, Darren Gauci was #1 there and I was #1 here. And I saw the difference between our lifestyles and what he was making and the attention he was getting and what I was getting here. And it just wasn't comparable, believe you me. So I decided then and there that I would leave as soon as possible. And then, not long after that, another gentleman over there, Alan Jones, he really made me go to Australia because Brian Smith said to him, find someone you think that will be really suited and good here. And he said, there's only one, and it's Shane Dye. You got to get him. And so Brian approached me to go, and I was still an apprentice. So through Alan Jones, that arrived. So you need a lot of people to be successful in life and to have a career. And, of course, then Mr. O'Sullivan allowed me to go. And he didn't have to.
Well, I think it's fantastic that so many people in this room have helped Shane in his career. But listen, Shane, I mean, it didn't take you too long at all to dominate the premierships over there and be the most recognised jockey and a famous jockey too. But gee whiz, when I see that golden slipper time and again and 4 times, I mean, it's got to be the hardest race, doesn't it? Surely to goodness.
Well, you can't make a mistake in it, and you've got to know your form very well, and you just got to go out there and be aggressive. And, you know, I see Melbourne Cup horses win and they make mistakes, jockeys or Cox Plates. You cannot make one in a golden slipper. It's very fast and it's very, very quick. And I used to love it, but the key to winning the golden slipper is finding the right 2-year-old, and I always used to find them before anyone else could. And as soon as I could, I'd get on it, and that's the key.
But because you were a champion jockey over then everybody wanted you to ride your horse, did you actually get to a situation, I've got 3 or 4 chances in this golden slipper, which one shall I pick?
Well, that cost me a lot of golden slippers. I'll tell you one year, just for an example. I was riding Prower and Laurie's Lottery, and I made the wrong choice, but the right choice in hindsight. I won on Prower the 2 weeks before. The week before, I rode Laurie's Lottery, and they were kind of favourites. And I rang up the bureau and got all the weather forecast. And Prower, if he had drawn wide, couldn't win, but Laurie's Lottery could. And if it was a wet track, Laurie's Lottery could, but Prower couldn't. So I decided to ride Laurie's Lottery. There was no rain through the week. The track was fast, and Prower drew gate 1. And, of course, he won the race, and Laurie's Lottery didn't. So I was wrong, but Prower never won another race like that, and Laurie's Lottery won many a Group 1 races, so I got that right.
Absolutely you did. And you got it right in the Melbourne Cup as well, and you got it right in a lot of races too, and you rode some fabulous horses. I mean, just seeing these great horses, I mean, is there a special horse that, well, I mean, it's probably pretty hard question, is it?
I rode so many, like Let's Elope, I rode her. I even rode Bone Crusher once, but getting on to now. Tie the Knot won 13 Group 1 races. He was a sensational and had the most nicest owners in the world, the Tates. Wonderful people. There's just so many, like Octagonal. The list goes on. I'll tell you one horse I did ride I thought was, on his day, unbeatable, and if you put him in a race against any horse, he would win, and you wouldn't really believe this, and a lot of people won't realise this. He won the AJC Derby, giving them 25 lengths at the 600, and he come from last. I rode him, of course, Might and Power was in the race, Intergaze was in the race, and when you go through the field and see the horses, it was unbelievable. And you should have seen his win when he won the McKinnon Stakes. It was amazing. And it was a horse called Emily Grove. And Graham Rogerson trained him. And I actually rode him in a Japan Cup. But you only got him once in every 10 starts. But when he put in, oh my God, he'd get to the 400 and there was just nothing like him. But he was very difficult to ride. And actually not many jockeys probably got on with him, but he suited me. And he won lots of races, Craven Plates, AJC Derbies, but on his day he was unbeatable, but you wouldn't get it every day.
After dominating Sydney, as we saw, you went over to Hong Kong. That was a real challenge for you. It's a magical moments over there too, but a very sad moment too.
No, I don't. I look at it as a good moment because it changed my life completely. And I've spoke to a lot of people in life who should be dead and are alive, and they said, you're in for a shock. You know, you change your whole outlook. And it made me think a lot about life, and I really changed a lot. Yeah, riding didn't mean as much to me afterwards as it did before. There's other things in life.
It's a good way to have. And can I just say one thing? I think in racing, ladies and gentlemen, when you start thinking about accolades in racing and Group 1s, that's what everybody strives to achieve. This bloke had almost 100 Group 1s before you were 32, 33?
Yeah, I'd ridden, I think, 93 in Sydney when I was 33, and when I left, it was a hard decision because actually I was sick of the stewards, to tell you the truth, and that's practically it. I'd had enough of them. They had no idea there, and I said, right, I don't need this, I'm getting out. But
you were good in the inquiry room, though. Everybody says that you were one of the best. Better than Lance?
Well, I only ever got charged once, and for giving a horse a run, and I took them to court and beat it, and the judge told Ray Murray he could never charge me for that, and he shouldn't have. Ray Murray's look on his face, he didn't know what to do. But anyway, and it was then I decided to leave because they gave me 3 months for giving Tie the Knot a run first up when he got beat a neck behind Sunline. And about 3 days later, Hong Kong rang me up to go to Hong Kong. And I thought, wow. And I'd never applied to Hong Kong, and there was a lot of jockeys like Mick Dittman and et cetera trying to get in, and they couldn't get a licence. And I thought, these blokes want me, and they wanted me as soon as my 3 months was up. So I appealed, got off, and I said, no, I won't come this year, that was in September. I'll come next year. And they said, well, we'll ring you after Christmas. And they rang me, and they said, we can't give you a 12-month licence. We've never done that before for a jockey. And I said, I'm not coming. I said, I get a 12-month to stay or I don't. And they said, well, we've only ever given 3s and 6s. So they rang me back and they said, we'll give you a 12-month. And I said, I'll come. So that was it.
I know, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone over my limit, but I've found this guy so entertaining. He's just a wonderful man, and he deserves to be inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame. A round of applause again for Shane Day.
I know I've thanked everyone, but in life, I honestly believe parents follow their dreams for their kids. The one good thing my parents did to me was allowed me to do whatever I wanted in life from a young age. We moved to Australia when I was 11 and I hated it, and they allowed me to come back and live in New Zealand so I could be with the horses. And they allowed me to follow my dreams, and that was very, very important.
Well said, Shane. Hey, Shane.
Shane.